right, all brothers remove their head coverings, all sisters pray with their heads covered. We face the east towards Jerusalem. Brother Mikhail, can you go ahead and open us up with prayer?
Heavenly Father, Yahweh, most holy and covenant Elohim, Abraham, Yishak, and Yaakov, give you thanks for the Yahweh, in Yeshua's name, because you are so mindful of us for the Yahweh. You allow us for the Yahweh to wake up for the Yahweh, to worship you for the Yahweh on your Shabbat. We give you thanks and praise for the Yahweh for giving us your love. Heavenly Father, we ask to touch our hearts for the Yahweh and let your word embed itself in our hearts for the Yahweh. Give us an understanding of your word for the Yahweh. And not only let us understand it, Father, but give us the strength to do your word for the Yahweh. Because, Father Yahweh, not just the hearers of the word, but the doers of the word for the Yahweh gives you glory for the Yahweh. So, Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for the Yahweh, for your word, for your Son, for the Yahweh. That he died for us for the Yahweh, to give us salvation, to give us a road to walk toward salvation for the Yahweh. So thank you, Yeshua is my name. And I pray, Father, touch my brothers for the Yahweh, that they may receive your word, Father, and understand the truth of your word, Father, and get the spiritual knowledge for the Yahweh to give out to your people for the Yahweh. Heavenly Father, thank you, Yeshua's holy mighty name. Amen.
Amen. I like the recording. And happy anniversary to
Thank you. It's on the 31st, but I wasn't going to be there, so I had to have an early celebration.
You was married on my birthday.
Yeah, 31st.
It's May 31st, right?
May 31st,
Yeah.
yes.
And thank you again for my brother.
Yeah.
Thank you again for those of that.
Oh, okay. No problem.
The extension around? It's straight.
Yeah, he's got it over there. Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharah. I'm with my brother Yonatan Yasharah.
Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat Shalom. And the title of today's Shabbat study is Women of Wisdom. Women of Wisdom. And in this walk, a lot of people that don't understand our culture, they feel that our women are like less than valued or basically like slaves and don't really have a huge impact on our nationality. And that's not true. If you read this book, you see that we had many, many great women that were full with so much wisdom that if it wasn't for them, we would cease to be here as a nation. And part of this whole book, you see that the woman is often compared to wisdom. Wisdom is often called a woman, and as well as foolishness is also called a feminine spirit. So you have a contrast between the wise woman and the foolish woman, and the man of Yah has to partner with the correct one. So we're going to take a look at our women and just look at some of the wisdom and some of the history of our women and the impact that they have made in our culture and in our homes. So we're going to first open up in Bereshit chapter 2, Genesis chapter 2, and we're going to take a look at the garden. What we're going to get in today, we're going to go into Jubilees, which is one of the Sefer writings, and we're also going to go into the Apocrypha. So if you don't have access to either of those books, you can go to IsraeliteGathering.com, go to Books and Bibles. We have the 1611 King James in there with Apocrypha. We also have Jubilees, Enoch, and any book that we would read of, even the history books like Flavius, Josephus, things of that nature. So we're going to take a look at Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 2, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made.
All right, so this is the beginning, and he's saying point blank, Elohim blessed the seventh day, which is the Shabbat, and sanctified it, which means he separated it from all other days. And he rested from all his work which he created and made. So we have to bless this seventh day, sanctify it, and rest on this day. This is not something that you can move around and decide you want to do it on a different day. This is the beginning rules that are made in the creation of the earth.
Indeed. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahweh Elohim made the earth and the heavens. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for Yahweh Elohim had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And Yahweh Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed.
All right, so he planted a garden eastward in Eden. So Eden is the section, and then now there's a garden that's eastward in Eden. And there he put the man whom he had formed. So often we think Eden is a specific place, but there's specifically a garden in Eden. So let's look at that Hebrew word for garden and get an understanding of that concept. If you look at the Hebrew word for garden, it's H1588, gan. H1588, gan, which is Gan. And that's from H1598, a garden, as fenced garden. So this is a garden, and it's protected some kind of way. And if we look at the root word of gan, it's ganan, which is H1598. Ganan, spelled Ganan. And that's a primitive root to hedge about. That is protect and defend. So you had Eden, and then in Eden you had the Garden of Eden, which was a fenced, protected area. So we're not going to get too deep into that, but you got to ask yourself, well, what was this protection, and what was it being protected from? Because there's no need to put a fence and protect something unless you're separating from something else or you're protecting from something else. Keep in mind, this whole story of creation is chronicling the holy seed. So there were other creations, but this whole story is chronicling the sons of Elohim.
Brother, I like the fact that you mentioned that concept of the garden being something fenced off. Someone was mentioning earlier today, I saw someone post something about marriage being akin to acquiring land. And you have to have a public deed stating to everyone that, look, this is my land. So it's possible for someone else to sow seed that doesn't belong to them. But we call that adultery. So the public deed that this land belongs to me, the same way that it would happen with man and wife, is look, there's a public deed that, yes, there's a whole lot of land going on right here, but we're going to fence off this part. I have a covenant with this specific area that is mine, and I'm responsible to till it, garden it, water it, things of that nature.
Right.
And the fruit it bears.
Exactly.
Verse 9. And out of the ground made Yahweh Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. A lot going on in that garden, that's fenced off area.
Right. So remember, in the midst of the garden was the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Go ahead.
And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it was parted and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, which compasses the whole land of Havalia, where is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that encompasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is it, which goes toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat.
Now, notice how they're describing these rivers in Eden, right? And it starts with what they call Pison, which is the Nile River, and it ends with Euphrates. That is the territory that was given to Abraham from the Nile to Euphrates. And then you have what was the second one? Gihon, which is the Blue Nile. And then you have Hiddekel, which is the Tigris. And then you have Euphrates. Go ahead.
Verse 17, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die.
And who did he command this to?
Told that to Adam.
And Yahweh commanded the man. Okay, go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a help meet for him.
All right, so Yahweh decided that it was not good for man to be alone. So if the Creator says it's not good that you mix fire with oil, that means that's instruction you want to follow. Obviously, there's going to be some kind of consequence if you do certain things. So from this concept alone, he knew that there was going to be something that this man was missing. Go ahead.
Verse
19.
And out of the ground Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a help meet for him. So,
talking about a dog is your best friend and all. No, that's not man's best friend. Your woman, your wife is your best friend. Because he had all these things. He had beasts. And at this point, he could talk to animals. There was open communication. There was no bloodshed. Everything was perfect. And he had all these different characters. And with all that, it still was not a helpmeet for him. It still couldn't help him achieve the level that Yah wanted for him to achieve. Go ahead.
And brother, interestingly enough, the wording about a help meet for him. A lot of times in the scriptures, you'll hear someone say, when they don't approve of something, they say, it is not meet that we should do such and such. It is not meet that we should. So basically that meet means appropriate. So when it says that help meet for you is a help appropriate for you.
Right.
The dog and the fowls of the air, they're nice to look at and they make cool noises.
Right.
They might, if they were talking at the time, they had insight that was good for a dog and a horse.
Right.
But a man, do you have a help appropriate for you?
Right.
That woman is going to be appropriate for you, and it's going to work to make you a better man.
Is she helping you reach appropriateness? Appropriateness for you to inherit your eternal land in the garden.
Indeed.
So he could not do this with the animals.
No.
Go ahead.
And there was not found a help meet for him. Verse 21, and Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from man, made he a woman and brought her unto the man.
All right, so that rib supports your heart, supports your body, keeps your posture together. It helps all those things, and it wasn't sufficient for him that he had. So he took it out, replaced it, and gave him something better, which could be more support for him and help him be more upright, more yashur. Go ahead.
And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
Can I talk about this specific? I don't know what he's gonna do if he's on the phone, but I'll see. I just wondered one thing you said about that, this quote, you know, brother made a very good explanation of being a helpmeet, you know, to the brothers, you know. Once we get down to this part here, you know, about the institution of marriage, you know, how we bonded to our mates, this is where we all fall. This is where we make a mistake. This is where we stumble. Because we forget that Yahweh gave this woman to us to help do His will and to comfort us. The same as when He put the man in the garden to till this garden and then to name all the other animals and then see them mate each other, see them be together with each other. It's not good. It's not shit on here.
It's showing that volume is
I
coming.
can hear you.
I hear you good.
Go ahead.
So this is where we make a mistake at, because we lose the knowledge that Yahweh has given us to take care of the mate that He gave us. We forget that that's His daughter. We're just not His son, but that's His daughter. And we don't understand how to take care of His daughter. We've lost that information through this transitional period of how we live our lives. You know, so we have to go back and learn how to take care of the mate that Yahweh gave us. You know, and we have to remember that's His daughter. We are supposed to love her like we're supposed to love ourselves. Like, and then it goes further in Scripture about we're supposed to love her like Yeshua loves the church. But how are we going to learn how to do that if we don't follow these Scriptures? If we don't dig deep in these Scriptures, and then once we receive this knowledge, start allowing Yahweh to strip us so that knowledge that He has in there to bind with us. Because all we've learned is trash in the street. All we've learned is self-preservation, you know, and how to get over on somebody else. Or allow our hearts to lean unto others and say, well, look, I'm going to take care of that man over there. You know, I'm going to take care of that woman over there because Yahweh said do so. You know, don't be so selfish in my heart that I can't lead myself into them and help them, you know. Or, okay, I'm in pain right now. Why can't I try to understand this pain and love my brother? Why gotta hate my brother? Yahweh didn't teach you to hate your brother. You know, we were teaching once before, you know, if you see your enemy, you know, ox fall into a ditch, you're supposed to go help that man's ox. You know what I mean? And even if you don't like the man, you're doing something kind for him as well as the animal because you're doing something righteous. Because Yahweh said do these things. So how are we going to learn it if we don't study the Scriptures? If we don't try to apply the Scriptures to our daily life?
You know, that was a good point that you brought up. You know, hating your brother. Hating your brother doesn't necessarily mean a brother hating another brother. If a sister hate her husband, that's hating your brother. That's the same concept. Go ahead, brother.
Brother, with that, just today I was talking to my Isha about the way life is set up. And in this world, we have gravity. And anything that's on a slope, if it's neutral, it's going to just flow down. It's going to go downward with the rest of the world. And Yah has provided a way for us to stop falling down. You know, we come to the understanding of Yahshua and how He's presenting Yah's commandments back to us and being the sacrifice so that we're clean enough to approach the throne again. So we have something to hold on to stop from falling. So then once we align our soul with the spirit and we start seeing things rightly, we start grabbing on to another type of gravity.
Right.
And it's a spiritual gravity that's above us. It doesn't pull us down like the world's gravity does, where we have to fight to stay up, and it's burdensome. But Yahshua told us, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden light. So you don't, he releases that downward pull, and then there's a gravity of the spirit that's pulling you upward to where you could start letting go of the world now. All the things that you're trying to use to stabilize yourself, you can start letting that go. And the spirit itself is trying to float you upward, you know, bless you with insight, get you up to a higher level. And what that does is that sometimes people misinterpret that upward gravity, especially between man and woman, where conflict comes. And whether we're cognizant of it or not, the spirit is at war with our egos. You know, we have to learn to let go of pride. And if pride is there, the spirit is at war with it. And we perceive it as, oh man, this is conflict. Oh man, you know, that person is the issue, or that person is, wherever it is, whether it's that person or self, the spirit is at absolute war with it. It's not like us, we'll make friends with someone that's a little bit wicked. Whereas the spirit is not playing favorites. The spirit is like, anything that's in you that I don't like, just like what happened with Moshe. If you don't circumcise your son today, I'm going to kill you. The spirit is at that jealous war with us, that little bit that you got, I'm at war with it. I'm not friends with it. And we perceive that where we're doing good in all this part of our life. And then this part that's a little wayward, we're like, no, but I'm doing great over here. Not realizing that the spirit is at war with this side. Yeah, all that is good. You know, Moshe, you helped us get out the promised land. All that. You know, you helped us get the right way. But this part here, which you didn't obey, I'm at absolute hot jealousy war with it. And we have to learn how to, like, when the spirit pushes for us to change something, we have to learn to yield. So even sometimes our ishas is like the temperature gauge on our dashboard. And sometimes it's in red. And we don't know why it's red, because we're like, I did all this side right. That's why the irrationality comes, where they're not even aware that they're irrational like that. But the spirit is in that area to use whatever it can to like push us. And sometimes we try to fight the current, but then we're like, what we should do is try to yield and say, okay, what's this trying to say? What's this trying to say? This is a vessel that purges the womb every month. There's things going on within that we're not cognizant of. Just like how the moon is changing its phase every night. We're not cognizant of why it's doing that. Y'all knows. The sun is just doing his thing. He's constant. There's something going on in that area we're not cognizant of. So when the moon is in the sun's space in the daytime, the sun ain't like, oh, you know what? I'm going to war with the moon tonight. The sun's just like, yo, I'm just have to let her be. You feel me? Like, that's just how it's going to be. So that spiritual gravity that opposes earthly gravity, we have to yield to it and see how we can adapt, because the spirit is in a state of perpetually improving us. And whereas sometimes we look at stuff as loss, we have to listen to the spirit and be like, because these are just instructions written by dead men, but we're living. And we have to say, how can I apply this so that this word written by dead people can be living in my time? And I can add living essence to it if I listen to it, so we can embrace it and say, what can I do to address what I perceive as conflict? What can I do to improve the situation? And I've come to realize personally that these conflicts are making us better, whether it be with friends, family, spouses. If they don't learn, that's on them. But if we learn how to yield and move toward whatever it needs to be to seek peace and pursue it, where there's conflict here, we have to seek the peaceful way. That's the only way we're going to get over it. Because if we're like, no, I'm going to warrior up and pull my sword. Hold on, this is your spouse, this is someone you love. It's only going to cause more mayhem. So how can we improve, and how can I draw nearer to that heavenly gravity that's pulling me upward out of my carnality and pride and ego?
Right. And you brought up a very good point about yielding. His burden is light and his yoke is not heavy, because the decision's already made for you.
Indeed.
Righteousness. So at the end of the day, you know, all we have to do is focus our decision on what is the right thing to do. And if we yield to that and just do it, Don't think about it. Don't see how you feel about doing it. And that's where the pride and the haughtiness comes in. When there's any contention, there's pride behind that. Somebody's pride is in the way. And you can't control somebody else's pride and haughtiness, but you can control yours. That doesn't mean you're going to get the effective result in the situation, but you can make sure that you are on the right side of righteousness and that you're leading by example. And where it becomes difficult is because we fight against trying to do the right thing. And sometimes we don't know what the right thing is to do. And this is what study is for. This is what prayer, and this is what meditation is for. And this is what family is for. But it's only difficult when you try to fight against doing the right thing. And that's not truly submitting. Go ahead and read that last verse.
Verse 24, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, and the man and his wife were not ashamed.
All right. Let's move on from there. We're going to go into Jubilees. We're going to go into the book of Jubilees, and we're going to go to chapter 3.
Footnote here saying the Hebrew word for ashamed is bush. They were not bush.
The book of Jubilees, and Jubilees picks up and gives you more historical context of what was going on in the garden.
And this is chapter 3?
Yeah, and again, if you don't have access to the book of Jubilees, you can go to IsraeliteGathering.com, go under the menu for books and Bibles, and we have free access to everything that we'll ever read from.
Jubilees chapter 3, Yobelum chapter 3 and verse 1. And on the 6 days of the second week, we brought, according to the word of Yahweh, unto Adam all the beasts and all the cattle and all the birds and everything that moves on the earth and everything that moves in the water, according to their kinds and according to their types, the beasts on the first day, the cattle on the second day, the birds on the third day, and all that which moves on the earth on the fourth day, and that which moves in the water on the fifth day. And Adam named them all by their respective names, and as he called them, so was their name. And on these 5 days Adam saw all these male and female, according to every kind that was on the earth. But he was alone and found no helpmeet for him.
Also, notice that they're talking about how Adam named all of these creatures. So when you name something or someone or something is named after you, you have a responsibility for that. You have a responsibility to tend to that because you are naming that. So in a marriage, it's the same situation. This woman is taking your name. You are responsible for that now. It's not it's equality to the point where, she is on her own and you're a grown man. No, you're responsible. She has become a new creature now because you have named her. Go ahead.
And verse 4, and Yahweh said to us, it is not good that the man should be alone. Let us make a helpmeet for him.
And notice Yahweh has said to us. So who is speaking here?
The Malaks.
Right, the Malakim. The Malakim are speaking here. So the angels are doing the work that needs to be done, and they're giving more account to the story. Go ahead. But all of this is being done under the authority of Yahweh, according to his decisions.
And Yahweh said to us, it is not good that the man should be alone. Let us make a helpmeet for him. And Yahweh, our sovereign ruler, caused a deep sleep to fall upon him, and he slept. And he took for the woman one rib from amongst his ribs, and this rib was the origin of the woman from amongst his ribs. And he built up the flesh in its stead, and built the woman. And he awaked Adam out of his sleep, and on awaking he rose on the 6th day, And he brought her to him, and he knew her, and said to her, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called my wife, because she was taken from her husband. Therefore shall man and wife be one, and therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
So ever since this creation of the woman, the man has been incomplete. He already needed a helpmeet, but he had his ribs, he had everything. But from the man that was created from the flesh of man, so forth and so on, he is missing something. He is incomplete because he's missing a rib. So until his rib is given back to him and he awakes out of his sleep, he is incomplete and cannot fully do his job. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Therefore shall a man and wife be one, and therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. In the first week was Adam created, and the rib his wife. In the second week he showed her unto him, and for this reason the commandment was given to keep in their defilement, for a male 7 days, and for a female twice 7 days.
All right, so in the first week, Adam was created, and the rib, his wife. In the second week, he showed her unto him, and for this reason the command was given to keep in defilement for a male 7 days, and for a female twice 7 days. And this is accounting for the woman being created a week after him. And then it's going to explain also when you go into Torah, when it talks about how when you have a male child and when you have a female child, you have a certain amount of separation. And it's going to go into further depth of why you have that 80 days for that woman versus the amount for the male. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, we brought him into the Garden of Eden to till it and keep it. But his wife they brought in on the 18th day, on the 80th day. And after this, she was entered into the Garden of Eden.
All right. So again, this is further proof that, yeah, we were in Eden, but he wasn't brought into the garden. He wasn't brought in to be able to do his work, to till that garden, until after 40 days. But the woman was brought in on the 80th day. So now you have an understanding of why when that woman has that child, how she's unclean for a certain amount of time.
That's the third time.
And then, right? And then when she has the female child, she has to wait that full 80 days.
Brother, I just find it amazing that it's talking about Adam being created in the land and then after 40 days being brought into Eden.
Into the fence, into the protection. He couldn't just automatically go under the covering of the Most High. There had to be a sanctification period. And this is why you see Moshe doing 40 days and 40 nights, and Yahshua, after he received the Spirit, fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. There's a pattern here.
Indeed. It's a bit that separation, like you're saying, and that set apartness to come into that holy place. And we would like, I think, me personally, I would like to think that, him being first created, whatever land he was in was fine, it was good. But there was still more of a set aside sanctuary that Yahweh wanted to bring him into. And I think that's something very meditation worthy.
Right. To be under the covering of the Most High is to be sanctified. All is his creation. He created all of that. But to be sanctified, like the seventh day, all days are good.
Yeah.
But the seventh day is sanctified. It's separated. It's holy. And why are you brought into that sanctification? To do his work, to serve the Most High, to till that garden. There's other work that needs to be done. But in that sanctified place, that's Yah's work to be done.
Indeed.
Go ahead, brother.
Verse 10. And for this reason, the commandment is written on the heavenly tablets in regard to her that gives birth. If she bears a male, she shall remain in her uncleanness 7 days according to the first week of days. And 33 days shall she remain in the blood of her purifying, and she shall not touch any Kodesh thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until she completes these days which are enjoined because of the male child. But in the case of a female child, she shall remain in her uncleanness 2 weeks of days, according to the first 2 weeks, and 66 days in the blood of her purification, and they will be in all 80 days.
Mm-hmm.
And when she had completed these 80 days, we brought her into the Garden of Eden, for it is most Kodesh than all the earth besides, and every tree that is planted in it is Kodesh.
Right. So when she had completed these 80 days, we brought her into the garden, into the fenced place of Eden, the fenced garden of Eden. For it is most holy than all the earth. And besides, every tree that is planted in it is holy. So even that tree of the knowledge of good and evil was holy as well. But if you take of that and you are not ready for that, and you take something holy, for example, like marriage, is a holy sanctity. It's a holy thing that's being done. It's Kodesh. But now, if you take that woman from some other man, that is now become an abomination. So that tree of knowledge of good and evil in the midst of that garden was holy, because every tree planted in there, and that was in the midst of the garden. But when you go against Yah's order, you go against his commandments, you take something that was good and holy and sanctified and you turn it into abomination. And that's how we are as a people. We were holy, we were good, we were sanctified unto him. But we took it and used our vessel, our temple, and gave it to the world and did worldly things. And we turned something that was good and holy and Kodesh into something that's abominable. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Verse 13. Therefore there was ordained regarding her who bears a male child the statute of those days, that she should touch no Kodesh thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until these days for the male or female child are accomplished. So it seems that the the temple represents also that sanctification of Eden as well.
Mm-hmm. That's where the most holy place is,
Indeed.
right? The oracle.
Verse 14, and it's funny how it became narrower and narrower the more that sin prevailed on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 14, this is the Torah, the law, and the testimony which was written down for Yasharal in order that they should observe it all the days. And in the first week of the first Jubilee, Adam and his wife were in the Garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and keeping it. And we gave him work, and we instructed him to do everything that is suitable for tillage. And he tilled the garden, and was naked and knew it not, and was not ashamed. And he protected the garden from the birds and beasts and cattle, and gathered its fruit, and eat, and put aside the residue for himself and for his wife, and put aside that which was being kept. And after the completion of the 7 years, which he had completed there, 7 years exactly, and in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, the serpent came and approached the woman. And the serpent said to the woman, has Yahweh commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And she said to it, of all the fruit of the trees of the garden Yahweh has said to us, eat. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yahweh has said to us, you shall not eat thereof, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die, for Yahweh does know that on the day you shall eat thereof, your eyes will be opened, and you will be as gods, and you will know good and evil. And the woman saw the tree, that it was agreeable and pleasant to the eye, and that its fruit was good for food, and she took thereof and eat. And when she had first covered her shame with fig leaves, she gave thereof to Adam, and he ate. And his eyes were open, and he saw that he was naked. And he took fig leaves and sewed them together, and made an apron for himself, and covered his shame. And Yahweh cursed the serpent, and was wroth with it forever. And he was wroth with the woman, because she listened to the voice of the serpent, and did eat. And he said to her, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your pains. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and in your return shall be unto your husband, and he will rule over you. And to Adam also he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat thereof, cursed be the ground for your sake. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat your bread in the sweat of your face till you return to the earth from where you were taken. For earth you are, and unto earth shall you return.
Okay, so we've read this story a lot of times, but we understand here that Adam did not eat of that fruit first. He got that instruction from Yah, and he kept and he followed that. The serpent didn't go to him, but this is the power of a woman. The power of a woman that it took his woman to get him to transgress Yah. That's how much power the woman has over her husband. Now, this power was being used improperly because it caused her husband to transgress. So imagine if this same power, ability to influence the decision of her husband was used to strengthen him into making the right decisions. That's what it was created for. That's why she was a helpmeet, because certain things were very difficult for him to have to do. And when you have that support of a woman of Yah next to you that's saying, nah, you can do it. Do the right thing. You know the right thing to do. Yahweh told you what you're supposed to do. The order would have been perfect and this wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, the woman can be fooled. This is why she was given a covering and a helpmeet that if she falls, being that she is the weaker vessel, the husband is supposed to catch her. He's supposed to be the covering. He's supposed to disallow those certain things from happening. But if he's not serving in that proper perspective, in that proper role, the whole order is just messed up. Go ahead.
Verse 26. And he made for them coats of skin and clothed them and sent them forth from the Garden of Eden. And on that day which Adam went forth from the garden, he offered as a sweet savor an offering, frankincense, galbanum, and stacte, and spices in the morning with the rising of the sun from the day when he covered his shame. And on that day was closed the mouth of all beasts, and of cattle, and of birds, and of whatever walks, and of whatever moves, so that they could no longer speak, for they had all spoken one with another, with one lip and with one tongue. And he sent out of the Garden of Eden all flesh that was in the Garden of Eden, and all flesh was scattered according to its kinds and according to its types unto the places which had been created for them.
So not only did he have to get out, but all flesh that was in the garden had to be scattered. So because when you make a decision and you are in control or in charge of a certain group, it affects everybody. So now it was the earth was cursed, the animals were cursed, they can't communicate, they can't talk, and animal sacrifices are now having to be done because the law of sin and death has now been entered, because now death is into the world. So the animal can't talk. The animal could talk. If you was trying to eat the animal's like, yo, don't eat me. Stop, please, bruh. Come on, man. You know how many times I done ran with you in the garden and you gonna try to eat me? Bruh, you gonna try to eat me? You know what I'm saying? So things had to be changed from this point. This is the kind of closeness we would have had with animals. Animal would have came up, hey man, you know a storm is coming. You know,
I could feel it. How you know? I could feel it.
My fur. You know,
Hey,
I'm sitting down, I'm laying down, so a storm is coming.
Yeah.
You know,
Or when the goose is migrating, like, where you going, man? The migration of the poles, man. The magnetic field is pointing that way. We just gotta go that way. Why y'all forming in a V? Because, man, you don't know when you fly. There's like a low pressure trying to explain stuff. But you know what's funny? It's interesting about what it said about the animals being scattered according to their kinds of different places. It's almost like the animal had their own Tower of Babel experience. Mm-hmm. And like if you look at Gila monsters, they're only found on the Galapagos Islands. You're not gonna find them all over the place. And there's certain birds that are only found on the cliffs of the Andes, or you know, off the coasts of Africa, or certain animals are only in Madagascar only, or certain animals that live in the water in certain reefs. You're not gonna find them on other reefs. Even though it's all the water, they just their home is at certain reefs.
right. Go ahead.
Verse 31. And on this account, it is prescribed on the heavenly tablets as touching all those who know the judgment of the Torah, that they should cover their shame and should not uncover themselves as the Gentiles uncover themselves.
So this is the law of holiness and righteousness to his people. Don't be like the rest of these other nations. Gentiles is talking about the Goyim. They uncover themselves. That's their culture. They uncover themselves. You are to be separated, sanctified. Cover yourselves up. Beauty is not based upon the least amount of clothes that you have on. That's not what that is. Our women have the capabilities of covering their heads and dressing in coverings and in nice clothing and standing out by far in the room, being the most beautiful women in the room. But the problem is we encourage that as men. Oh, sister, you look good. Well, you didn't say she looked good when she was covered up, but when she got her chest out, all of a sudden she looked good. All of a sudden, you're liking her statements. So this is something that we enforced as men. But if we would enforce that, like, sister, cover yourself up. Your husband know you out here like this? Or if I was your husband, I wouldn't want to see this. Or I would want to be your future husband. And I don't want all these men knowing what I'm courting. But we don't think of it like this. We would tell our sister that, cover yourself up, your own little sister. But we have to start looking at our women as sisters before we look at them as property. Sister, cover yourself up. You see what's going on here. Our women are being raped. They're being kidnapped. We got sexual trafficking. Furthermore, they're being objectified. That's the culture. The culture sells sex. That's the Greek way of things. And this is a Greek Roman culture. Go ahead.
Verse
32.
And on the new month of the 4th month, Adam and his wife went forth from the Garden of Eden, and they dwelt in the land of Elda, in the land of their creation. I'd love to know where that is. And Adam called the name of his wife Eve, and they had no son till the first Jubilee. And after this he knew her. Now he tilled the land as he had been instructed in the Garden of Eden.
All right, so he got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So where you say, oh, well, I got kicked out, so I ain't gonna do no work now because, I'm in the land of captivity. I'm just gonna stop serving Yahweh. No, do your work. Why would he allow you back into the place that you got kicked out if you're not doing the work you were supposed to do in that place? So we didn't do the work that we were supposed to do in Jerusalem and got kicked out. So does that mean now we're in captivity? We stop keeping holy days because we're not in the land. We're gonna stop keeping the Shabbat because we're not in the land. No, do the work that you were supposed to do there. So that you can prove yourself worthy to go back into your land to do your works.
Keep in practice.
Exactly. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 31, Mishlei chapter 31. Let's look at this virtuous woman. If our women understood the power that they have, and I don't think they truly understand how much power they have, because men, we tend to hide our emotion and play games that we've been taught, players and pimps and manipulation and all that. And we don't ever want a woman to know how vulnerable we are to them. But if she truly understood and was raised properly, she would have more respect for her actions and how she does things because she knows how much she's influencing the man. But instead, the same way a man is raised to be this player, this pimp, and this manipulator, the woman is raised to use what she got to get what she want as well. But the book wasn't designed that way. If we can get back to the righteousness of how to be a righteous man and how to be a woman of wisdom, a virtuous woman, then we can counter all those things and we can be sanctified in this community of wickedness that we're in.
And brother, there's a bitter aspect to that. But then there's a sweet aspect to that, because on one hand, we already know, y'all knew all of this was going to happen. He knew that the man and the woman, their dynamic was going to fall apart because they're not following his commandments. So part of the results of that is what we see today is the breakdown of family, men being raised one way, women being raised one another way. But then they can't get away from that aspect of man and woman wanting to attract and be together. And then when they have it, they want to maintain it, but their inward person is in rebellion into maintaining it. Y'all be like, haha, got y'all. Y'all want to be in rebellion, but you want to be together. And then all that trouble happens, and it's like, man, how we gonna make this work? Because I love you, but I'm sinful. And she's like, man, I love you, but I'm sinful too. And it's like, what we gonna do? Because every time we try to make something work, there's an argument. Every time we talk, we arguing. And it's like, what we gonna do? And we have to come to a conclusion and say, man, we have to submit to y'all. Because humanity has spent this whole time being in rebellion to the Most High. Mm-hmm. But we can't get away from our nature of wanting to yoke and be with one another. And then our soul get involved. So either we're gonna just be completely wicked and pretend like we don't love one another, or we're gonna come together and be attracted to y'all because of the love we have for our spouses. And then in the love we have for our spouses, we have to seek y'all. How we gonna make this work? And y'all's like, oh, you want me now. So it's up to y'all whether he's gonna allow us to come close. You understand? Right. Just like with the flood. Like, I don't need all of y'all. When Noah closed the door to that boat. Yeah, when Yahweh closed the door to that boat, no matter how many people was out there praying, it's tough luck. I'm sorry. Last 40 years I had my servant. However many years he was out there preaching. Yeah, right. I want to say it was 400, but it probably wasn't that much. But he was out there preaching and telling people, you gotta repent. And then all of a sudden y'all want to pray and ask y'all
when it happens.
When it happens, y'all want to pray and ask y'all for forgiveness now. Right. So now it's the same thing with us. Like, we want to come together and build families, but yet we don't want to follow y'all's commandments. And then we come together. And so when we pray to y'all, we're like, y'all show me how to do it. Y'all looking back like, why? For what? Give me a reason why. You gonna follow my commandments? You think I'm gonna bless you with the gift of unity between the helpmeets, and you don't even love me? Right. You think I'm gonna bless you with the thing that is gonna cause you to leave your mother and father and cleave as one and have no need for anyone else in the world just so you could turn around and curse me? Nah, I'm gonna frustrate the heck out of y'all. Right. But that's how the spirit works, because all y'all is doing is challenging you to grow greater. Right. You understand? Where before, man is just doing whatever was right in his own sight. If he felt like doing this, he did that. If he felt like doing that, he did that. But then came down to that woman. It's like, man, I'm weak. I don't know what to do. This woman pleaseth me well. And y'all's like, oh, so I got some bait to bring you back toward my throne. And then the man is before the throne like, all she do is argue with me. All she do is fight with me. And then the woman probably doing the same thing. And y'all's like, the only way this is going to work is if y'all turn back to me, like I said in the beginning. And it's a funny dynamic. Right.
And you as the head, as the leader, you can't wait for your woman to turn back to Yah. That's why you were put in front. You have to turn back to Yah. You can't be dependent on your walk to righteousness and serving Yahweh based upon your woman. Mm-hmm. And that's how a lot of us fall. And a part of that is the reason that we have a lot of men that are being raised by women. Mm-hmm. So being the fact that they were raised by women and didn't have a male father in the household, they're used to that dynamic of depending on that woman to lead them. And that causes a problem. There's always an issue of imperfection in each party. Mm-hmm. But as long as you have both parties that are trying to move towards Yahweh, those things will be worked out. But when you don't, because we see many situations in this book where that woman wasn't trying to walk towards Yahweh, what did that righteous man do? That ain't got nothing to do with me. I gotta keep walking. So we can't be dependent that much on the woman. That's placing the woman in an unnatural state. She was to motivate you to be better. She wasn't supposed to be your reason for being better. That's right. And that becomes a problem when you make the woman your reason for being better. Then y'all got to pull that woman away from you and say, listen, you have put this woman in an unnatural situation. Replace the woman with an elder. Replace it with a big brother. Replace it with a teacher. Anything that you put to be your reason for being better is going to have to be stripped away, because Yah has to be your reason for being better. That's right. And that goes for the woman as well. If you are trying to be better because you're trying to please your husband, that man going to suffer, because he's going to separate that. And while that man is walking and he's trying to lead you to walk in righteousness, hey, y'all gonna have to deal with his daughter, because I didn't put him here to be your God. I put him here to be your covering. I'm your God. Proverbs chapter 31, Mishlei chapter 31 and verse 1.
The words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son, and what, the son of my womb, and what, the son of my vows? Give not your strength unto women, nor your ways to that which destroys kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink.
Okay, so give not your strength unto the woman. That woman is not supposed to be your strength. It's supposed to be your helpmeet, help you be stronger. Yah has to be your strength. These commandments, this righteousness, this holiness has to be your strength, because she's a weaker vessel. So if your weaker vessel is your strength, your only strong is your weak link. Go ahead.
Verse 5, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine to those that be heavy of heavy hearts. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. Open your mouth for the dumb in the cause of all such as are appointed to destruction. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life.
So she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. Now, what about when she's mad? What about when she's hurt? Well, the virtuous woman is going to keep the commandments. So she's not going to do him evil. A virtuous woman is going to trust in Yah to handle that situation when a husband is not walking in righteousness. And we have stories that we're going to read about that as well. Go ahead.
Verse 14. She is like the merchant's ships. She brings her food from afar. She arises also while it is yet night, and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard.
So she's being profitable unto her family and her household. She's a businesswoman as well. She's not just sitting around making babies. She's also increasing the financial situation of a household. Go ahead.
She girds her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle goes not out by night.
She don't have to go out in the streets. Her candle's at home. What's she out there doing in the streets? That's for young people. Her candle supposed to be in the house at night with her husband and with her family, in case that child wake up sick, will wake up with a nightmare, or her husband needs his wife. Go ahead.
She lays her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretches out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes fine linen and sells it, and delivers her girdles unto the merchant.
Again, she is a businesswoman. She is increasing. Now, this may have came from the source of her husband, but at the end of the day, she's taking that talent and she's multiplying that talent. She's not coming back, here's the same money you gave me, or here's the receipt for the money I spent. She's taking that and she's increasing it. Go ahead.
Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. In her tongue is the law of kindness. She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but you excel them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that fears Yahweh, she shall be praised.
A woman that fears Yahweh. Now, this Proverbs 31 woman, this is a perfect woman. Now, just because our wives or our daughters or our sisters don't meet this, this is the standard that they're trying to meet. This is where we are working to. If you read what is a righteous man, ain't none of us gonna fit that. But this is what we're working towards. This is what we're working towards attaining. And in the process of attaining these things is where the blessings come in. This is where the growth comes in. Go ahead.
Brother, another thing about this too is that this woman didn't become that way overnight.
No, he didn't marry that woman like that.
No. It could have been parenting. And also, Eve didn't know not to eat of the tree of the garden until Adam taught her and told her. So a lot of what is birthed in her soul and her spirit is something that her husband is sowing into her life. You know, opening the gates for the spirit to work with her. Because the same spirit that works in a man to do manly things is the same spirit that's going to work in a woman to do feminine things or the things that are profitable for her.
Right.
The laws of separation don't apply to us. You feel me? I'm not going to have my menstrual cycle and have to be separated and not sit here and there. That applies to a woman. So there's a law of the spirit that's going to work through a woman that we're blind of. But all we can do is sow into her so that the window of the spirit, you know, can come and dwell with her and produce all this fruit that she's probably not even cognizant that, wow, you know what? My husband said this to me and now I'm bearing all this fruit. And he didn't tell me specifically, you gotta sow. Right. You gotta get up at this time and make sure that all these kids got sweaters because that's what Proverbs 31 says. Nah. You understand? Like, there's a spiritual element where spiritual words are coming out. You're upholding her. You're encouraging her. Your words are gracious. Right. You know, you motivating her to bear these type of fruit. And not every woman's going to bear this exact fruit. But because the soil that she's planted in is fertile, that seed of the woman can grow. Herself as a flower can grow because you're providing that light, or you're putting her in a position to where, look, that's Yah's light. And now she can grow and bear fruit the way she can, whatever capacity is meet for her. Right.
And the husband is benefiting from that as well. Because the husband didn't come in and marry her as the virtuous man. Not if he got married at a young age. He had to grow, and their job together was to grow. This is why he needed that helpmeet. If he was that virtuous man without the virtuous woman, then there would be no need for the virtuous woman. So that man has to recognize himself that, hey, I have a helpmeet as well that's going to help me be that righteous man. That I'm not just that because I have more knowledge or more experience than my wife, but I also need shaping and growth. And that's what Yah gave me you for, because you're helping shape and to grow me. Because if we are one flesh and one spirit, then, like you said, there's a whole different dynamic that's going on in that woman that is there to help that man. But if we take ourselves and put ourselves on a pedestal and say, well, because I'm older and I'm wiser and I've been in the word longer, she just needs to listen to everything I have, then you're voiding yourselves of the spirit that she has been given to help you do your job. Go ahead, Elder.
Basically, I think y'all said a whole lot dealing with this, because when they tell, you know, a woman's supposed to submit to her husband, what kind of husband is she submitting to? You know, and that's what you have to take a look at. So I'm glad, you know, you both touched on both those subjects, for the women and also for the men, you know, because we have a job to do also. You know, we was put in the forefront, you know, to handle business, because y'all always say, I put you there first, handle this business. I give you this information, now you got to get the information to your Isha. Not that he's not going to talk to the Isha, because when your head is so hard, he also speaks to you, to the Isha, to deal with you, to help you. Because your head is so hard right now, he can't talk to his son. You know, so he said, no, I want the best of my child. He's about to step into this hole. He's about to have a whole lot of trouble. He's about to bring ruin or injury to not only himself, but to his whole family. Because they said, what, the blessings come to the husband. You know, so how are you going to be able to lead your family or bless your family if you can't even hear? You can't even understand what this word is saying. You so I can get back with you, because now you made yourself unclean. These are the things we need to listen to. We all need to do this, and I know myself included. So yeah, I'm glad y'all touched on those things because we have to understand the type of relationship that Yahweh wants for us with our Ishas, because our Isha and us supposed to have a certain relationship with Him to let things grow. So how are you gonna tell a field, brother, you don't know how?
Right.
How's she gonna realize what you're doing if you don't know how to teach it? Because you don't understand. And that's been our problem the whole time. And that's been what, since we ruined ourselves before Yahweh. Well, man saw that a long time ago. What did he say? If you want to take him as a slave, if you want to take what he has, make him go against his father. Make him go against his Elohim. And we'll have everything that he has, and we'll have him too. But if you allow him to worship his Elohim, he will have pity on his children. And we will lose what we just gained from them. You know what I mean? So no. This is the separation that we have to repair with our Elohim. So I'm glad we're talking about this. It really makes a lot of sense, and all of us need to understand how to repair the rift that we have between our Elohim and it also the rift between our Ishas.
Brother, you said something that's key. What you said is repair, which means that there was a point where there was perfection somewhere, but it broke.
Yes.
So there's a degeneracy that we think is normal, that's not normal. There's a car condition that we enter into these marriage situations with that's not conducive to prosperity in a relationship. And our main problem is that we belittle how degenerate we are. And we minimize how ignorant we are of how things were before it needed repair, before the wall was broken, before the bridge snapped. We forget that there was a time when we weren't going into these things so stupid and so degenerate, where your dad and your mom did everything they could to make sure that, look, as a husband, as a man, you're gonna need to do this, and this. You're gonna need to do this. Don't scream at her. Don't shout at her like that. And then they go to the daughter. You need to know how to listen. You see, when your dad talks and you don't want to hear that, that's not good. Because when you go to your husband and you do that, you're gonna make your husband upset. There was a time when our culture was all involved in our upliftment and our growth and our soul capacity. You understand? Where now our capacity for love be like this small, and we think that we've done something right. We give a compliment and we like, come on, that's enough. Like, we don't understand how stupid and degenerate we are, and we need to make sure that we're doing our best to start investing in our own growth, because what we think is the best is trash, absolute trash. And what we think is high productivity between one another and between friends is trash. You understand? Because we seeing out of a glass very dimly, and we need to be aware of how degenerate we are so that we can constantly, daily start working. It's like a coke addict. Once he stops for a day, you don't stop doing coke for a day and think, oh, I'm good, I'm clean now, I'm never going to want to be tempted by such. We have been spending years doing spiritually drugged up stuff, pretty much doing spiritual heroin, sniffing lines and lines and lines and lines of coke.
Right.
Not necessarily literally, some people literally, and that's even more degenerate.
Right.
But in our own soul, we've been doing some degenerate stuff, and then we're gonna walk into a marriage and relationship and think we're gonna be all right and it's all good, and I'm clean enough now. Man, you better go to rehab.
There's a point that you just said, but I was thinking back stuck to me. If you just think about it, even though I know how old you are, but just think back a little bit more about in the 60s, right? In the 60s, in the 70s, you had more. In the 50s, also, you had more families that were black families that was together with mother and father in the household trying to raise their children. You know, it's like even though it was still coming out of a wild time, a messed up time, a slave time, the families were trying to bond with each other, man and female, trying to show their children that man and wife can take care of their families, get a job, do what you have to do, but yet as time goes on, man does not want us to continue with a family. So, yes, inroads came in to destroy our family. And we didn't realize that, yeah, they destroyed our family, but what you going to do about it? Why don't you try to pick up the pieces continually? Because that is your family.
Right.
These are your brothers and sisters out here. You know? So why don't we stop the foolishness and get back to loving our people the way we're supposed to love our people, and stop kicking our people, stop being crabs in a barrel, stop trying to insult our women, that they're worthless, you know what I mean? Like, do you realize that your people are so important that the world wants you? The world wants our people, but only want as slaves, only want as property, you know? But yet, they want everything that we make, want everything that we invent, want everything that we do, the music, the clothing.
They want us, our body
attitudes.
parts.
You understand?
Literally.
But they don't want us. They want our body parts, but they don't want to be us, so to speak. So, if you turn around and just look at those things, then we must be very important. And Yahweh said you're very important to this movement. He chose us before anybody else. And there's a reason for that. So if we just allow our people to listen to what the scripture says and humble ourselves, and that's the word that we have problems with. Humble ourselves, because our pride is so high. Well, why do we have this pride? It's not getting us anywhere. We're being destroyed every day, fighting every day, being killed every day, being used every day. So why don't we just put our pride aside, fight to put our pride aside? And I know it's not easy, brothers and sisters. I have a problem with it myself. But if we allow ourselves to put our pride aside, just for a second, just fight yourself for a second, so you can hear the words of Yahweh, maybe you can make sense and become stronger. Because if you don't try that recipe, you're never going to become stronger to do Yahweh's will. You're always going to be fighting yourself and fighting your brothers and sisters around you. You're never going to see the truth. You know, so, yeah, you're not going to have families. You're not going to understand what Yahweh has to say to you. And you're not going to have better families because you're always going to have a separation, a division in your families. And try to figure out why this stuff is happening to me. Why my wife don't like me? Why I don't like my wife for this? Why my children, that I'm separating my children? Why I can't help my children when they're on these drugs or about to go to drugs or having problems with these idiots out here and injuring left and right about their skin color? You know? I mean, why I don't have the right words to speak to my children? You know? Why I can't comfort my children when they see these horrible things happening in the street? It's because we don't have the answers. The answers is written in this book. You cannot answer a child sexually to understand this because you're going to have Bill Gates this home. You're going to build pain this home. If we learn from these scriptures, then you see why this happened. And we will get the comfort in our hearts to deal with things. Because you know that righteous Elohim says it will happen because your forefathers did this when against me, so you got to go through this process. But if you tarry and stand, I will comfort your hearts. You know, but yet nobody's out there enough teaching these things. So how are we going to get over these humps, brothers? Is exactly what y'all been talking about today. Showing out when we fall ill, when we fall short, so we can build not only ourselves, but build our sisters, our wives, our children, to know that we have a firm foundation in Yahweh. We just have to seek it.
That was a good point. In the 50s and the 60s and all that, we had more families together. We had more structure because we were being oppressed.
Right.
So being that we were oppressed, we needed each other. So we came together, and we stood together, and we suffered together, and we rose together.
That's right.
But what happened was we rose up too high, and then we started to not need each other, or feel that we didn't need each other because we weren't being oppressed so much. So what Yah did, he said, all right, I'm going to put that oppression back on you. And what the adversary, the devil, said is, oh, you know what? I'm going to put that oppression onto you, but I'm going to cause that woman to not have to need that man financially. And that's what they did. They turned around and they started giving this woman all this money and putting her, and it started from slave times, putting her in administrative roles and putting her out in the forefront and pushing the man further back where he wasn't needed.
No power.
And the woman fell for it and raised the man to be the same way. So the only way that we can get out of that is both the perspective and the understanding of the man has to change, and the woman has to change, and it has to change to right in here of the proper dynamic. Because the adversary evolves in the same way that we're evolving. We try to evolve in righteousness. He just evolves into another way to destroy us.
That's right. Your death, fights.
If I may give a testimony too, I think the first 9 months of my marriage, me and my wife spent pretty much in like letting one another know how much trash we were. You feel me? Like pretty much confession. Like, look, I'm just trash. Like, you know, I'm just trash. Like, pretty much was just straight confession. And what it did, it disarmed us.
Right.
So when the arguments came up, it's like, I can't even insult you because do I have a platform to stand on? You feel me? So like, it like just removed, like, it was a humbling experience because of ourselves, we had to remove the pride pedestal that people usually come into. You're not gonna disrespect me. I'll disrespect myself. Let me disrespect me before you disrespect me. So that it's not even a weapon anymore. Because it's like you have a knife in your hand, like, hey, oh, that's a nice knife. You just toss it out the window. Like, we disarm. You know, I'm not gonna be able to disrespect you any harder. So when the emotions come up, it's like we had to deal with the actual. All the leaven was out, and we had to actually deal with the actual matter that we had, and we were just able to just take it. Yeah, break it down to the basics. Like, we don't have to flow through all this fluff that's there. All that y'all forced us to throw that out. And whenever there was an issue, we had to like get the needle and the thread and either sew and get the microscope and get down to the nitty gritties of whatever is causing tension, because we know we had a lot of ground to cover. And what it did is it just made us handle the matters at themselves, whether it was in me, whether it was in her. If it was in me, I invited her input to help me. When it was her, I had to help condition her to the point where she was okay receiving what I had to say. And to trust what she had to say. And in me, instilling in her the values that she needed so that when she spoke, I could trust it. So that, is that y'all's voice? No. Let me tweak the Wi-Fi signal or tweak the FM signal a bit so that you fully align to what y'all has to say to us, so that we can grow and so that we can get rid of the fluff and these stumbling blocks and these thorns that the enemy likes to stick so he can have a foothold. We be like, nah, get rid of that thorn, because we know we under attack. Get rid of every thorn, and we just do that. Just be obedient as possible. We don't have to. We're not necessarily the most wisest people. We don't know the whole Hebrew language, but y'all just give us instructions. Let us know how quickly to do it. Let's get rid of every stumbling block. Wash this crap off, because we got places to go, and we know we ignorant. We know we don't have it all. We know we behind in this grand scheme. We know that when y'all looks across the ages, ours is the age that shines out as the wisest age. So look, come before y'all like, look, y'all, we're robbed. We're in that time period where there was a want for your word being preached. We're in that famine of the word, and we heard that there's food over in this area where you're at, where people were. That's like when there was a famine in Egypt, when there was a famine in all the world. The children of Yah, Joseph's brothers came to Egypt. We're like, yo, we heard that there was food here. We can't stay in the land of Canaan where we were at. We're gonna have to get food from you. So the same thing was us. We're in this famine place. And we had to come before y'all like, y'all, look how her clothes are tattered and got holes in it. But, hey, this woman you gave me, I love her. But I'm not equipped to love her the right way. I had to present myself before y'all humbly. Like, y'all, help me. And she did the same. Present yourself humbly before y'all. Exactly. We had to judge ourselves and confess what the issue was. Come before y'all, not prideful. Like, y'all, hey, look, I know I got this part is good. You feel me? I know this right here. You like this, right? Y'all like... I was like, come on, I created that. That's just a speck of sand on every seashore on earth, plus the stars in heaven. What you know is nothing. You feel me? So what Yah is like, Yah pretty much lets us know, like, look, I'm not going to be able to teach you the knowledge of all the ages. But what I can allow you to do is to tap in to what you need every day any hour of the day, any minute of the day, any second of the day. It's an encyclopedia of divine knowledge from the beginning to the end, in the circle, multiplied on top of one another. All of it is not proficient, and it's not appropriate. It's not all of it is appropriate for you. But guess what? You come to me exactly. You come to me appropriately in the order, in the fashion I told you to. In obedience, man is the head, the woman following him. The man submitted to the door that I made, where he put the blood on the lintel, where it's just the Passover, so that you can enter through the door, and I can bless you with what you need, and you can have a garden where you are, and I could be a little sanctuary to wherever you are scattered across the earth.
Right. Go ahead and finish that up.
Verse 31. And give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates.
All right. Let's move on. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 7. So we saw the virtuous woman, and again, we forget the power that this woman has. You know, Yah deals with a woman, they call it women's intuition, but there's a certain spirituality that, a spiritual power that's given to a woman that when it's harnessed properly, it can really cause that house to be blessed and to grow. But also the woman has been used in the sense of wisdom, the woman being called wisdom. Well, it could also be called the strange woman, because it all depends on what spirit this woman is allowing to use her vessel. When Eve decided to allow the adversary, the devil, to use her vessel, it causes a great destruction in the garden. So we're going to read about that here, Proverbs chapter 7.
Mishlei 7 verse 1. My son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with you. Keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of your eye. Bind them upon your fingers, write them upon the table of your heart.
All right, so understanding the law as the apple of your eye. The apple of your eye, that's the pupil. That's the part what receives the light, that allows you to see. So this is how we're supposed to be seeing. We're supposed to have this law, these commandments, as our sight that brings in the light, that allows us to see things clearly. But when you have your feelings as the apple of your eye, then you're going to see things the way you want to see it. And no matter whether you walk and you don't see a hole in the ground, you still finna fall in that hole whether you see it or not. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Say unto wisdom, you are my sister, and call understanding your kinswoman, that they may keep you from the strange woman, from the stranger which flatters with her words.
All right, so you have that contrast here. You have the woman that's wisdom, that's like a sister and a family, a kinswoman, your family. And then now you have a woman that's a strange woman. Now, where it becomes a problem is when people try to denigrate our women by calling them the strange woman, and, you know, women are this or women are that. When at the end of the day, she's just a vessel. She's just a vessel to receive either the spirit of righteousness or the spirit of wickedness. But with you being a husband, what are you investing into that woman? Are you investing pride and anger and envy and jealousy and wickedness and partiality and oppression and all these different things? Are you pouring that into your women, or are you pouring righteousness? You can't just sit here and speak these commandments, but then your actions are all these actions of this strange woman. The strange woman is a spirit. And that strange woman, which is doctrine, can be in the male or the female. Where is she getting this doctrine from? This is why husbands are very careful of who their wives are talking to. Like, where you get this from? Who told you about this fruit that we ain't gonna surely die? Where you getting this strange doctrine from? But that strange doctrine can come from the husband as well. Not him necessarily saying to her this strange doctrine, but how he's submitting to the Most High, and she's receiving that strange doctrine from the lack of submission by the head of the household to the Most High.
Verse 6. For at the window of my house I looked through my casement, and beheld among the simple ones, I discerned among the youths a man void of understanding.
A young man.
So he didn't have understanding as his kinswoman. That's which is what verse 4 was saying. So he didn't have understanding as his sister, and he didn't have wisdom as his sister, or understanding as his kinswoman. So when he passed by,
He was taken.
he was taken. Verse 8, passing through the street near her corner, and he went the way to her house, to the house of the strange woman.
Right. And a woman, a mother or sister to a brother, she'll say, no, stay away from that woman. That
With no
woman ain't
regards.
good. That woman ain't not good for you. I can see, look how she present you over there fawning because you see, big chest hanging out or a big behind, you seeing it from the front. But at the end of the day, she's looking at that. First of all, why is she presenting herself like that? For one, virtuous woman don't present herself like that. What does she see in my brother? What is she looking for? And look at her character. Look at her subtleties. Look at her eyes. First of all, why is she here? Why is she not in her home? And a woman is getting all that, whereas the man is just seeing one thing alone. Because he didn't have wisdom as his sister and understanding as his kinswoman.
And brother, this is the first time I'm actually seeing chapter 7 the way it's supposed to be seen, where it's the figurative, where it's saying, wisdom and understanding are the women that are your friends, but there's a strange woman around here, trying to seduce you.
Right, these are spirits.
Exactly. So passed through the street corner, go to her house, went the way of her house. He's getting caught up in the world easily, getting pulled away, and not allowing wisdom and understanding to be his sister
He
and
going
kinswoman.
into her house instead of going into the house of Yah and going into the covering. Go ahead.
In the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of a harlot and subtle of heart.
So she's dressed like a harlot. Dressed like a straight up harlot, but she's being subtle with it. Oh, don't judge me by the way that I look. I know I'm half naked, but that doesn't define me. Yes, it does. If I go out there and I see you dressed like a fireman and there's a fire, I'm going to say, come put out this fire.
Exactly.
If you dress like a police officer and they shoot and I'm like, bro, go over there. I'm going the other way. You go that way. You a policeman. But see, this is what the adversary of the devil. Oh, surely you're not a harlot if you dress like a harlot.
Nah.
Go ahead.
That's flatteries.
I think this statement does give a little reference, about just like a harlot. It goes to Bereshit, Genesis chapter 38, I believe it is, 38, 14, 15. And they talk about, Tamar, is dealing when she wanted to, get a son, And she said, and she put her widow's garment off.
Right.
And covered her with a veil. She covered her face and wrapped herself so no man could see her face. You know what I mean? And so and then she sat down in an open place in which to wait to Timnat. For she saw that Silla was wrong, but she was trying to get
To raise up seed.
But she dressed like a prostitute of that time. So when they saw her, they knew exactly she was a prostitute. She was a whore. So if you dress like a woman of virtue, at that time they knew what a woman of virtue would dress like. She didn't.
She's covered.
That's right.
All right.
Her body was covered, and also her hair was covered, So I just want to bring that point up, and people want to know that yes, they do have a representation of what a whore looks like in Scripture, So I just want to bring that up right there, very quick.
To further validate that, it's business. It's the oldest business in the world. Harlotry. If you are a harlot, are you trying to dress in a manner that's going to cause a man to respect you and try to see what's in your mind? No. You're not looking for a husband. You're looking for somebody that's ready to pay for some sex.
Yep.
So you're going to dress in a manner that's going to cause a man to lust after you so you can get what you want from him. Period. So that's how a harlot dress. She's marketing her stuff, marketing her body. She's not marketing her mind. She's not a mind harlot. Well, listen, I'm marketing great conversation and virtuousness. You know, I'm walking around here with books and all this stuff so we can sit there and read together. No, she's half naked so that men can lust after that. And when men lust, money is following right after. So this is what our women are doing. But see, the Greeks do this. They do this. That's their culture. But we are told, don't be like these Greeks. Cover yourself up.
Well, I like the way you put it, brother. Also, realize when you teach your daughters to do this type of thing, they get comfortable in this type of dress wear. They don't think anything about it. They don't think much that, I'm just like a harlot. No, their mindset is like, you don't like the way I dress, don't look at me. I'm not dressing for you anyway. But wait,
yes, you are.
You're forgetting that you're dressing for the man. You're dressing when people look at whatever you clothes you put on. So who you're lying to? You're not just lying to them. You're lying to yourself. So yes, you're dressing like a prostitute. You're dressing like a hoe. You should dress more respectfully. That way you don't get these cat calls and these people tell you some nasty thing or some mean thing. You don't get these guys that you really don't be bothered with. Because why you get these gentlemen that are these so-called bad guys is the term that they use, but yet later on in life, you don't like the bad guy because he disrespects you left and right. When you come into yourself, when you come into a little bit of wisdom of adulthood, you say, well, I don't like the way you talk to me. I don't like the way you treat me. I don't like how you handle me. Well, you didn't have a problem with it when you first met. And then the women usually say, well, to the man, when the man realizes, I don't want everybody looking at my wife naked in the street. I want to keep, what's mine and personal. You know what I mean? I don't like guys disrespecting you in the street. I'm standing there. You're about to put me in a wall with another man because of the way you dress. Well, she's telling him, you didn't have no problem with that when you first met me, when we were dating. Why didn't you say something then? Mm-hmm. See, this is the mindset we all have to get out of. That's why we should study the scripture, to realize that this is not old. It may be old in thousands of years. But
same stuff is going on.
Same thing is going on today and went back on in that day. We need to learn from this.
Right. And it's a twofold problem. Not to sit here and just blame the woman because she's dressed in scantily attire. No. If the man would stop giving her the attention for dressing like that, she wouldn't dress that way. So you can't put all the blame on the woman. Why is you dressed that way? She's dressed that way because that's how she gets attention. If you're not giving her the attention, she'll stop dressing that way. This woman see herself naked every day. She don't need to dress like that for herself. She see herself butt naked every time she take a shower. She not dressing like that so she can look at her body. She dressing like that so you can look at it. So we can't sit here as Israelites, sitting here attacking this woman. You women, you dressing like this. But then you accepting these friend requests from these half-naked women so you can look at their pages and doing all these different things. So it's responsibility on both sides. But even more importantly is the mothers to have to at least, okay, you know that you're not perfect. You know you got issues. Consider your children of what they're looking at, especially if you have sons that are looking at how this woman dressed. Because he's looking at his mom like she's $1 million. So when he sees a woman that's scantily dressed in the street, he's assuming, oh, this is a good woman. I can have a family just like this. Same thing with daughters. Well, my mother dresses like that, and she's not a whore. So I guess that's how virtuous women dress. We got to address that in our communities, and it takes both the man and the woman to address this. Go ahead.
Indeed. Verse 11. Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 11. She is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house. Now is she without, now in the streets, and lies in wait at every corner.
She is loud and stubborn. This is a spirit. Because this is not just a woman. This is a man the same way. He loud and stubborn. He always in the streets. So yeah, it says she. But this is a spirit that can attach itself to anybody, a man or a woman, being loud and not listening. Never in your house. That man, if you ain't out there working, you need to be at home with your family in case your children need you, to help your wife, to be a companion. So even though it says she, we have to keep this in a proper context. It's talking about a feminine spirit that is not a spirit of the Most High. Because the only masculine spirit is Yah. Everything else is feminine. Go ahead.
And brother, with that, remembering the figurative as well as how the doctrines that lead people astray is going to be in the streets. It's going to be popular. It will be the one that's always being promoted.
Right.
You know, not the one that's going to have discipline. No one's going to adhere to something that's going to make you restrict yourself or or discipline yourself. They're gonna want to do the flatteries, you know, the one that says, man, you the king and you the prince and you the god. Whatever you say goes. You know, it's a flattery. You always in control. Whatever you think is what's right, and you don't need a God in heaven because the one here is the one is you.
Right.
You're in control, and that's what's gonna take over, and that's what people are gonna adhere to because it's easy. Just like a harlot is easy. You don't have to work and discipline yourself. Like, hey, look, I'm presenting myself like an upstanding young man so I can get you. No, the harlot is you.
How
like,
much
hey,
money you got?
How much? It's gonna be like, hey, girl, what's good? She's like, oh, let's see what you driving. Oh, okay. It's like it's a little car, but as long as you can take me to your house, so we can commit some fornication. You know, but a righteous woman, it's like wisdom. It says wisdom is gonna make you disciplined. It's gonna force you to present yourself in good attire. Like, look, hey, I'm equipped to support you and uphold you, so you'll never be in a situation where you look bad, or you'll never be in a situation where I've dropped you and misrepresented you. Like Shlomo, everyone has Shlomo as the representative of what wisdom is. Like, oh, he was the most wise of all.
If you follow it.
But then you think about how he let all these women lead him astray. You think, oh, because of the wisdom he had, it wasn't able to uphold him. Like, no, wisdom didn't fail him. He failed wisdom.
Right.
Wisdom was waiting there for him to
listen to his own advice.
He didn't listen to his own advice, and wisdom was there to help him not to do what he did.
This is his own advice right here.
And he didn't pay no attention. So when wisdom is gonna test every man that seeks to hold her, like, are you worth it? Whereas a harlot is like, just give me my pay. Don't tell me how to dress. Don't tell me anything.
Right.
You're not gonna. Whereas wisdom is like, look, I have everything you need. I can do whatever you want me to do. But you as a man have to present yourself, or as a woman, whoever's gonna embody the spirit of wisdom, you have to present yourself in a manner that I'm not gonna be failed for trusting you with my riches.
Right. Wisdom is a tool. Applying that tool is understanding. You can have all the wisdom in the world, but if you're not applying it, then it's no understanding. Understanding is how to use that wisdom to depart from evil. So you can be well equipped. You can have all the guns in the world and all the bullets and all the armor in the world. If you don't know how to shoot, if you won't shoot the gun at the proper time, or you shoot yourself in the head with it, you had all that wisdom, you had all this power and gun power and everything, but you killed yourself.
Yep.
Go ahead and finish this up.
Verse 12, now she is without now in the streets and lies in wait at every corner. She's popular. Everybody know her. She got 1,000 friends on Facebook. So she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face said unto him, I have peace offerings with me. This day I've paid my vows. Therefore came I forth to meet you, diligently to seek your face, make you feel special. And I have found you. I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry and carved works with fine linen of Egypt.
But wait a minute. Aren't you a married woman? Aren't you a married woman? Just don't worry.
Don't you belong to Satan?
Don't worry about all this. Go ahead.
I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. For the good man is not at home. He is gone a long journey. He has taken a bag of money with him and will come home at the day appointed. With her much fair speech. She caused him to yield her flatteries. With the flattering of her lips, she forced him.
All right. Now, why would he be in this situation to begin with? Because when this strange doctrine, when transgression is coming to him, this shouldn't even be an option. Mm-hmm. First of all, no, this to take it from the figurative perspective, wait a minute. No, this is strange doctrine. Cinco de Mayo. What the hell does this have to do with Yahweh? Nah, I'm not dealing with this. No, I don't care what you say. Mm-hmm. There's no flattering. But because in his flesh, he's attracted to these things. He is envying the wicked. He's just waiting for the ransom for sin. What is going to be your ransom for sin? So this is where your yoke is light and his burden is not heavy, is when you're saying, listen, man, I just can't do it. There's certain things in the word that we have that it's like somebody try to give you a pork chop. It's like, I don't care how you try to
how
position.
Much salt you put
This is not even a thought process. Like we're supposed to be like that with all sin, everything. But we have our weak areas. And in those weak areas is the places that we have to fortify more. If you know that you have a weak area, you got to fortify that section more. And you might have to, whereas you can sit and have a conversation with a dude why you're not going to eat pork. Sitting here talking with a married woman that is amazing why you're not going to have sex with her right now. That's probably not a conversation you need to have. You need to be like, man, I got to go. I'm out of here. Yeah. I'm out of here. Sister, y'all be with you, and y'all definitely be with your husband. I got to go. So we can't be sitting here trying to, 2:00 in the morning talk to a married woman. Well, you're beautiful and all. And if you weren't married,
wow.
If you were, you mean you're separated. Oh, okay. Yeah, but if you weren't, separated, and if I wasn't a man that didn't keep you, what is you conversating with her for?
See, now you're trying to justify what you're going through right now.
You already know what time it is.
It was funny. Just this morning, I saw this photo on Facebook of a black Christ arm wrestling with Satan.
I seen that,
and it's like, who's gonna win? And I was like, okay, that's cool. But then I sat and looked at it, and I was like, this picture is unclean.
Very.
And I said, first of all, he shouldn't even have to touch this man, because you don't even want none of that uncleanness to get on your hands. You understand? Sacrifice was made for the children of Yasharal. That scapegoat is getting sent to the wilderness. It's already being banished. That is all unclean. That's why when the angels came down, when they talked to Satan over the body of Moshe, as it read, it was like, look, y'all rebuke you. I have nothing else to say to you. There ain't gonna be no touching, no wrestling match for unclean. I'm not touching your uncleanness. You understand? I gotta preserve my white garbs. You go, on the other hand, you love the filth. Look at what it says about wisdom. Well, look at what it says about the strange woman. She says the good man of the house at a far journey. This is verse 19. Mm-hmm. The good man is not at home. He's on a far journey. So she's trying to solicit some adultery to him.
Right. Don't worry. You're not going to get caught.
Yeah. It says this is an adulterous woman, because when you look at it, when you compare the world's holy days, world's holidays compared to Yah's holy days. The world's holy holidays want anyone to come and participate. Whereas Yah's like, hold on, these are for my children. My children belong to me. The circumcised cannot partake. The uncircumcised cannot partake. If you're going to partake of the Passover, let it be under this grounds. You're keeping and in order to even know exactly, in order to even know when a Passover or when a Pentecost or when a first fruit is, you have to know what the Shabbat is. That means that you have to come under the covenant of the Shabbat. At least be cognizant. Whereas the world's holidays are like, hey, everybody, there's Christmas here. And come partake.
That's it's just so disturbing to me. You telling me you won't keep a Sabbath day, but you keeping Cinco de Mayo? You ain't no damn Mexican. This got nothing to do with you. You dressing up in Mexican garb. I mean, like, I'm looking at these brothers, man, and I'm just like,
some beer. She gave us some beer. Flatteries, bro.
It's so sad to see that we are so lost as a people that we'll grab a hold on we don't even speak that language. Anything. St. Patrick's Day. First of all, you supposed to be the saint, not Patrick. Mm-hmm. But we'll grab a hold of all these different things. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and finish this up.
It reminds me where y'all was saying that you rather take strange men instead of your husband, when he was talking to when he was talking to Israel. It's like, you take strange men. You're one of those imperious women that take strange men over your husband.
You're not even getting a gift in return.
You paid
nothing. You paying to get.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo, 4th of July. I mean, not 4th of July, well, that too. Cinco de Mayo, St. Patrick's Day.
They're not giving you free drinks.
All these holidays, Christmas, we love those. But those holidays are like, hey, everyone, come partake of my adulteries and my fornication that are against Yah. That are purposely against Yah. It doesn't care under no precaution. You don't have to come prepare yourself. You have to present yourself anyway. Some of them are, just do this sin, because we know that some of them were just full blown orgies. Excuses to do sin. But Yah is not the adulterous woman. Yah's ways, wisdom is not the adulterous woman. You have to present yourself properly. It's not like calling to every man on the street, like, here, partake. Come with my fornications, like the whore of Babylon is. Verse 23.
No, verse 22, excuse me. And this is what happens when he sits there and tries to conversate with the virtuous, with the adulterous woman. Go ahead.
He goes after her straightway. This is after all the flatteries. He goes after her straightway as an ox. There's free drinks and gifts. Give gifts to one another. Dress your kids up in costumes.
Here's the hook. Right for your lip.
Yeah, it's flatteries. No discipline necessary. He goes after her straightway as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks.
He's going straightway to kill himself. And what's leading him? Was Yah tempting him? No, the lust of his flesh tempted him. Yah equipped him to be able to overcome that with righteousness.
Verse 23, till a dart strike through his liver, and a bird hastes to the snare, and knows not that it is for his life. Hearken unto me now, therefore, O you children, and attend to the words of my mouth. Let not your heart decline to her ways. Go not astray in her paths, for she has cast down many wounded, yea, many strong men have been slain by her. Her house is the way to the grave, going down to the chambers of death.
Let's go to Ruth chapter 3. Because we have no culture, we letting Tyler Perry tell us how the woman is supposed to be courted. We letting BET show us how, the man supposed to, prostitute his wife, his woman. And we letting these Gentiles and the nature of their relationships try to tell us how things are supposed to be done.
Ruth is Ezra.
Right before Kings and
Kings,
Chronicles and Ezra. It's early. So now we have this sister here where she has an Israelite mother-in-law who's telling her, this is how you get a virtuous man. You're not going to get a virtuous man by whoring yourself out. You're going to get a worldly man by whoring yourself out. You want a virtuous man? Then you come at him, you let him know that you're interested, but you letting him know that you're not a whore. Go ahead.
Ruth chapter 3, verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens you were? Behold, he winnows barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash yourself, therefore, and anoint you, and put your raiment upon you, and get you down to the floor. But make not yourself known unto the man, until he have done eating and drinking. And it shall be, when he lies down, that you shall mark the place where he lieth. And you shall go in and uncover his feet, and lay you down, and he will tell you what you shall do. And she said unto her, All that you say unto me I will do. And she went down unto the floor, and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, his heart was merry. And he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet, and laid her down.
Now, you can tell this is a virtuous man, because this man was drinking, his heart was merry, and he lied down asleep. And this woman is laying at his uncovered feet, just looking up at him with instruction of, wait, and he'll tell you what to do. Go ahead.
And it came to pass at midnight, that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet.
Not just a woman, a beautiful woman.
And he said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your handmaid. Spread therefore your skirt over your handmaid, for you are a near kinsman."
She's asking for marriage. Cover me. Bring me under your covering. And again, anytime you see that skirt, that kanaf, put me under the covering of your commandments. Teach me your commandments. Show me your Elohim's righteousness. Because on the kanaf is your tzitzit, your fringes, your gadal, your pathil. All these different things are on your kanaf. So these are representing the commandments. Put me under the covering of the Most High. And look how she's propositioning this in a humble way. She could have been out there butt naked, like, listen, marry me, take my body, ravish me. She's still following the order. Go ahead.
And verse 10 shows why he esteemed it. It says, "And he said, Blessed be you of Yahweh, my daughter, for you have showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as you followed not young men, whether poor or rich." So she could have been with somebody else out
She
there.
could have got it. She could have had a pick of anyone. These people were sweating her as soon as she came in. When you got a woman of another nation coming in, all the men, it's like, ain't nobody
Something
got
new.
this limited edition right here. And she just lost her husband. You know she needy. She needy.
Let's comfort her.
Right.
Verse 11.
Wounded fish.
Yep.
All the sharks are coming out.
Yep. "And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to you all that you require. For all the city of my people does know that you are a virtuous woman." So she already got a reputation. "And now it is true that I am your near kinsman. Howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I." So they're trying to follow the rules.
Look at this righteousness of this man. He's saying, listen, wow, everybody knows how virtuous you are. You're drop dead gorgeous. You have asked me to marry you. You are laying at my crusty feet. And it is midnight after I've been drinking and my heart is merry and I was scared and now I'm comfortable. And she wants to marry. 99% of us men would have been
On that.
I'm going to marry her anyways. But what he did? Nah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to handle this righteously. That way, if I can get the Most High's blessing in this, because I'm going to do it the right way. Let me approach onto this other man who's nearer to kin. And if he doesn't want to do this thing under righteousness, because it was righteousness for him to raise up seed. That's right. He had to do that. Or he'd be the one with the loose one shoelace and spit in face.
Spit in the face.
So this is a righteous brother right here. And he knows that, man, you could have been with a younger dude. Go ahead.
13.
Verse 13. "Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform unto you the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the part of the kinsman. Do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to you, then will I do the part of a kinsman to you, as Yahweh lives. Lie down until the morning."
Yeah, he gave a promise. As Yahweh lives, trust me. As Yahweh lives, if this man don't take you, I'm going to take you. I got you. Go ahead.
"And she lay at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before one could know another. And he said, Let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. And he said, Bring the veil that you have upon you and hold it. And when she measured it, he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her, and she went into the city. So her veil had some room to carry some stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, Who are you, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said, These 6 measures of barley gave he me. For he said to me, Go not empty into your mother-in-law. Then said she, Sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day.
And that's how a man's heart is after his woman. When he wants to marry that woman, he not going to rest until this thing get completed. All right, let's go to, we're going to go into the Apocrypha. Let's go to Judith.
Brother, what's interesting is that she understood the nature of Boaz. That, you know, a righteous man wants to follow Yah's lead, and he wants to judge righteously, and he wasn't going to just leave it just lingering in the air. He was going to come to a swift conclusion on judging the matter rightly.
And she knew that being a married woman, she knows that, listen, man, that man want you.
Yeah, boy.
You're a beautiful young woman. He's an older man. That man wants you. So he's not going to rest until he go make all this thing work. He gonna go check after what he go check the paperwork, do what he gotta do. He gonna get to his wife.
And you said Judith?
Judith, chapter 10. Judith, chapter 10. Judith or Yehudith, she is in the Apocrypha. And again, if you don't have access to the 1611 King James, you can get it on Israelite Gathering and have access to it. Now, Judith, Yehudith, she was a woman that during the siege, when Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar was sieging against Jerusalem to take control of it, there was a famine, and they had cut off the water, and people were hurting. So it was the closest I can compare that to would be like Venezuela right now. Venezuela has a civil war going on, and they're lacking food. The average person lost 20 pounds in Venezuela. That's how bad the food crisis is there right now. So this is going on in Jerusalem, and Yehudith is trying to do something for her nation. This woman is ready to put her life on the line to protect and save her nation from being extinct. So Judith, Yehudith, chapter 10, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
Now after that she had ceased to cry unto the Elohim of Yasharal, and made an end. And made an end of all these words. She rose where she had fallen down, and called her maid, and went down into the house in the which she abode in the Sabbath days and in her feast days.
So she kept the Sabbath and she kept the feast days. Go ahead.
And pulled off the sackcloth which she had on, and put off the garments of her widowhood, and washed her body all over with water, and anointed herself with precious ointment, and braided the hair of her head, and put on a tire upon it, and put on her garments of gladness, wherewith she was clad during the life of Manasseh her husband.
So her husband had died, and she was also mourning for the condition of her people. So she had sackcloth on. She was showing outwardly of her sadness for what her nation was on. But now she's getting ready to go approach unto these Assyrians, these Babylonians, and to go after them and try to work something out. Go ahead.
And she took sandals upon her feet, and put about her bracelets, and her chains, and her rings, and her earrings, and all her ornaments, and decked herself bravely to allure the eyes of all the men that should see her.
Now notice what she did. She had her rings, her earrings, her ornaments. She dressed nice. She was beautiful, but she didn't have to dress like a whore to get the eyes of all men. She could dress virtuously and beautifully in royal attire. So that lets you know our women can dress like this. They ain't got to be walking around with sackcloth. That's not how our women are supposed to be dressed. When she's a married woman, that's how she's supposed to be dressed, because her husband's supposed to take care of her and get her all these different things. Go ahead.
Then she gave her maid a bottle of wine, and a cruse of oil, and filled a bag with parched corn, and lumps of figs, and with fine bread. So she folded all these things together, and laid them upon her. Thus they went forth to the gate of the city of Bethulia, and found standing there Ozias, and the ancients of the city, Chabris and Charmis. And when they saw her, that her countenance was altered, and that her apparel was changed, they wondered at her beauty very greatly, and said unto her, the Elohim of our fathers give you favor and accomplish your enterprises to the glory of the children of Yasharal and to the exaltation of Jerusalem. Then they worshipped Elohim.
So when the men saw Yehudith dressed up, she was so beautiful. They said, surely Yah's with us. Go accomplish your enterprises. This woman finna work this out because ain't nobody finna disagree with anything she got to say right now. Go save our nation. Go. And they prayed to Yahweh. That's how beautiful our women are. That's how wise our women are. That's how powerful our women are. And this is during a siege. This is during a famine. Go ahead.
And she said unto them, command the gates of the city to be opened unto me, that I may go forth to accomplish the things whereof you have spoken with me. So they commanded the young men to open unto her as she had spoken. And when they had done so, Yehudith went out, she and her maid with her, and the men of the city looked after her until she was gone down the mountain, until she had passed the valley and could see her no more. Thus they went straight forth in the valley, and the first watch of the Assyrians met her, and took her and asked her, of what people are you, and where comest you, and where go you? And she said, I am a woman of the Hebrews, and am fled from them, for they shall be given you to be consumed. And I am coming before Holofernes, the chief captain of your army, to declare words of truth. And I will show him a way whereby he shall go and win all the hill country without losing the body or life or any one of his men. Now when the men heard her words and beheld her countenance, they wondered greatly at her beauty, and said unto her, you have saved your life, in that you have hasted to come down to the presence of our Lord. Now therefore come to his tent, and some of us shall conduct you until they have delivered you to his hands. And when you stand before him, be not afraid in your heart, but show unto him according to your word, and he will entreat you well. And they chose out of them 100 men to accompany her and her maid, and they brought her to the tent of Holofernes.
So if she was dressed like a whore, what do you think would have happened?
Probably would have dealt with her like a whore.
They would have dealt with her because she was dressed virtuously and she was beautiful. They said, nah, I can't do this. Just bring her to the captain. Go ahead.
Then was there a concourse throughout all the camp, for her coming was noised among the tents. And they came about her as she stood without the tent of Holofernes, till they told him of her. And they wondered at her beauty, and admired the children of Yasharal because of her. And everyone said to his neighbor, who would despise this people that have among them such women? Surely it is not good that one man of them be left, who being let go might deceive the whole earth.
So they're saying, and the children, who could despise this people that have women this beautiful? So we were receiving some favor and some mercy because they were saying, man, who's producing women this beautiful? That's how beautiful the daughters of Zion are. And the world has told you that, nah, you not. You need to look like these other. I guarantee she didn't make her hair look like you're Gentiles. And she didn't dress like them or try to lighten her countenance and all that stuff. She came there and braided her hair, dressed in glorious apparel, and everybody bowed down to her. Even her enemies is bowed. They took 100 men to accompany her just to make sure that nobody else came and messed with this woman. This is your power, daughters of Zion. Beautiful. Go ahead.
And they that lay near Holofernes went out, and all his servants, and they brought her into the tent. Now Holofernes rested upon his bed under a canopy, which was woven with purple and gold and emeralds and precious stones. So they showed him of her, and he came out before his tent with silver lamps going before him. And when Yehudith was come before him and his servants, they all marveled at the beauty of her countenance. And she fell down upon her face and did reverence unto him, and his servants took her up.
All right, go to Judith 12, Yehudith chapter 12.
Then he commanded to bring her in where his plate was set, and bade that they should prepare for her of his own meats, and that she should drink of his own wine. And Judith said, I will not eat thereof, lest there be an offense, but provision shall be made for me of the things that I have brought. And Holofernes said to her, If your provision should fail, how should we give you the like? For there be none of us of your nation. Then Yehuda said unto him, As your soul lives, my lord, your handmaid shall not spend those things that I have before Yahweh work by my hand the things that he have determined. Then the servants of Holofernes brought her into the tent, and she slept till midnight, and she arose when it was toward the morning watch, and sent to Holofernes, saying, Let my lord now command that your handmaid may go forth unto prayer. Then Holofernes commanded his guard that they should not stay her. Thus she abode in the camp 3 days, and went out in the night unto the valley of Bethulia, and washed herself in a fountain of water by the camp. And when she came out, she besought the Elohim, Yahweh Elohim of Yasharal to direct her way to the raising up of the children of her people.
So she didn't just decide, I'm going to do whatever I need to do. She understood that something needed to be done. She put herself together, and she put herself in the frying pan, in the belly of the beast, and went out there and did that thing. And she also knew when to pray as well. In the evening, in the morning, and noon, and night. She knew when to pray. So she went out there at the time of prayer in the morning, and she went out there and she prayed and she asked Yahweh, how can you raise up the children of her people? A selfish woman would have said, well, how can I make my situation better? How do I not get killed? She's out here for her whole nation. This is a woman. Wouldn't a man went up here and did this thing? This is a woman risking her life, risking her body, being ravished by a bunch of unlawful, transgressing heathens. But she's doing this for her nation. So we have to remember, this is the type of women that we have. How can we disregard a stock of women that have constantly saved our nation from being extinct? Go ahead.
Verse 9, So she came in clean and remained in the tent until she did eat her meat at evening. And in the 4th day, Holofernes made a feast to his own servants only, and called none of the officers to the banquet. Then said he to Bagoas, the eunuch, who had charge over all that he had, Now go and persuade this Hebrew woman which is with you, that she come unto us and eat and drink with us. For lo, it will be a shame for our person if we shall let such a woman go, not having had her company. For if we draw her not unto us, she will laugh us to scorn. Then went Bagoas from the presence of Holofernes, and came to her. And she said, Let not this fair damsel fear to come to my lord, and to be honored in his presence, and drink wine, and be merry with us, and be made this day as one of the daughters of the Assyrians which serve in the house of Nebuchadnezzar. Then said Yehudith unto him, Who am I now, that I should gainsay my lord? Surely, whatsoever pleaseth him, I will do speedily, and it shall be my joy unto the day of my death. So she arose and decked herself with her apparel and all her women's attire, and her maid went and laid soft skins on the ground for her over against Holofernes, which she had received of Bagoas for her daily use, that she might sit and eat upon them. Now when Yehudith came in and sat down, Holofernes, his heart was ravished with her, and his mind was moved, and he desired greatly her company. For he waited a time to deceive her from the day that he had seen her.
So his heart was ravished with her, and his mind was moved. So it was more than just physical sexual attraction. This is what happens when you are exposing yourself. Man, your heart ain't ravished with no woman when all you thinking is flesh, is hitting that. But not that he's not thinking about hitting that. He's thinking about hitting that as well. But he wants more. He wants this woman, period, to himself. His mind is moved by her elegance, the way she's dressed. She's beautiful. He wants everything about this woman. Everything about this woman. Go ahead.
And brother, I think it's good too for fathers and for women to understand, and mothers as they teach these daughters, worldly men, verse 16, and he greatly desired her company, for he waited a time to deceive her.
Right.
For from the day he had seen her. So a lot of times women don't understand that a lot of men are only presenting themselves as kind and favorable in order to have their way with them.
Right.
So they need to be able to, the same way wisdom tests men to see if they're worthy of having wisdom, is the same way women should weigh the intentions of the men they involve themselves with, who they give their bodies over to.
Right.
Verse 17, and Holophony said unto her, drink now and be merry with us. So Judith said, I will drink now, my Lord, because my life is magnified in me this day more than all the days since I was born. Then she took and ate and drank before him what her maid had prepared. And Holofernes took great delight in her and drank more wine than he had drunk at any time in one day since he was born.
Wow.
This is what he was doing, man. Wow. He was trying to get her drunk so he could have his way with her.
Hey, take this money.
But he was so moved by this woman and was feeling so good, he drank more than he ever drank. And this is all part of her plan. Let's go to the conclusion. We're gonna stop at verse 13.
Chapter 13.
Chapter 13.
Now when the evening was come, his servants made haste to depart, and Boaz shut his tent without and dismissed the waiters from the presence of his lord. And when they went to their beds, for they were all weary because the feast had been long, and Yehudith was left alone in the tent, and Holofernes lying upon his bed, for he was filled with wine.
So he ain't doing nothing. He drunk as ever.
Now Yehudith had commanded her maid to stand without her bedchamber and to wait for her, coming forth as she did daily. For she said she would go forth to her prayers, and she spoke to Boaz according to the same purpose.
So she had this all set up where every night at certain times, multiple times during the day, they leave and they go out and they go pray and they let them leave. So they trust this woman. So she's doing this like it's nothing. So when she does the deed that she's going to do, just like any other normal day, they let him out. This is a woman using war tactics.
That's right.
But see, she went to Yah and asked for help, and Yah gave her the spirit. He's a man of war. So he gave her that art of war. Go ahead.
So all went forth, and none was left in the bedchamber, neither little nor great. Then Yehudith, standing by his bed, said in her heart, O Yahweh Elohim of all power, look at this present upon the works of mine hands for the exaltation of Jerusalem. For now is the time to help your inheritance and to execute your enterprises to the destruction of the enemies which are risen against us. Then she came to the pillar of his bed, which was at Holofernes' head, and took down his falchion from there, and approached to his bed, and took hold of the hair of his head, and said, Strengthen me, O Yahweh Elohim of Yasharal, this day. And she smote twice upon his neck with all her might, and she took away his head from him.
Man, sisters, this is your power. She's not a warrior. We don't send our women to war.
No.
But she had the spirit of Yah with her, and she beheaded the captain.
Took his head off.
Not only just to kill this man, but she went up in his territory, in behind enemy lines, and took his head off and prayed and asked for the strength to do this. This is the power of our women. A warrior needs a woman like this on his side. You need and this is a virtuous woman, a righteous woman. She's not just doing this for financial gain.
Nope.
She's doing this for her nation. She's risking her life for her nation. Our women have been doing that from slavery, from time after time after time. It's time for us to protect our women and to stand by them. Go ahead.
And tumbled his body down from the bed, and pulled down the canopy from the pillars. And anon after she went forth and gave Holofernes' head to her maid. And she put it in a bag of meat. So they twain went together according to their custom unto prayer. And when they passed the camp, they compassed the valley and went up the mountain of Bethulia and came unto the gates thereof.
So she put in it with her meat so the blood wouldn't, cause any issue.
Right.
This woman is slick. Go ahead.
Then said Yehudith afar off to the watchman at the gate, Open, open now the gate. Elohim, even our Elohim, is with us to show his power yet in Jerusalem and his forces against the enemy, as he has even done this day. Now when the men of her city heard her voice, they made haste to go down to the gate of their city, and they called the elders of the city, and they ran all together, both small and great, for it was strange unto them that she was come. So they opened the gate and received them, and made a fire for a light, and stood round about them. Then she said to them with a loud voice, Praise, praise Elohim, halal Yah, halal Elohim, I say, for he has not taken away his mercy from the house of Yasharal, but has destroyed our enemies by my hands this night. So she took the head out of the bag and showed it, and said unto them, Behold the head of Holofernes, the chief captain of the army of Assur, and behold the canopy wherein he did lie in his drunkenness, and Yahweh has smitten him by the hand of a woman. As Yahweh lives, who has kept me in my way that I went, my countenance has deceived him unto his destruction, and yet has he not committed sin with me to defile and shame me.
Now, what they always show in the movies is when the female assassin kills the mark, she sleeps with him. She got to have sex with him, and then she tries to stab him, and then, he always catches her and like, and he shoots her or whatever. Not this one, not a daughter of Yehuda.
Nope.
She didn't even have to defile herself. And yet she took this man out. She used his own lust and deceivableness against him. Finish that up.
Verse 17, Then all the people were wonderfully astonished, and bowed themselves and worshipped Elohim, and said with one accord, Blessed be you, O our Elohim, which has this day brought to naught the enemies of your people. Then said Ozias unto her, O daughter, blessed are you of the Most High Elohim above all the women upon the earth, and blessed be Yahweh Elohim, which has created the heavens and the earth, which has directed you to the cutting off of the head of the chief of our enemies. For this your confidence shall not depart from the heart of men, which remember the power of Elohim forever. And Elohim turned these things to you for a perpetual praise, to visit you in good things, because you have not spared your life for the affliction of our nation, but have revenged our ruin, walking a straight way before our Elohim. And all the people said, So be it, so be it.
Amen, amen. So, and Elohim turned these things to you for perpetual praise, to visit you in good things, because you has not spared your life for the affliction of our nation. This is the same thing that Hadassah did. What they called Esther. Hadassah did the same thing. She risked her life to protect her nation, where there was an order to kill off the children of Yasharal. So these are the power in our women. Yahweh can use our women to save our nation. He's going to have to use our women now to save our nation. So let's keep that in mind. Our women, you are not oppressed. The Spirit has always been with you. We just have to walk in the proper order of Yah's order and walk in these commandments together. So that's all we're going to do. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right. Let's go ahead and end in prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem.
Our Father, Yahweh Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yasharal, we thank you, Yahweh, once again. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your patience with us. And we thank you for your covering and allowing us to gather, Yahweh, on your seventh day to show you your sign, Yahweh, of your Shabbat, Yahweh, as we have our Kodesh maker according to your commandments, Yahweh. Yah, we thank you for allowing your spirit of understanding and knowledge and wisdom to reside with us, Yah. And we ask that you allow us a place in our heart, Yahweh, to take this with us, Yahweh, when we go walk this narrow path in the street, Yah. For it is very dangerous and tumultuous on both sides, Yah. We see the nature and the climate that's going on out here, Yah. And we understand that it's very difficult for us to keep our eyes on the prize, Yahweh. But we ask that you strengthen us, Yahweh. We ask you that you strengthen the union between man and woman, brother and sister, Yahweh, so that we can learn, Yahweh, to have both of our parts together as one, walking in one accord, Yah. For it's going to take not just the men, but it takes the men and the women, the mothers and the fathers, Yahweh, the sisters and brothers to come together, Yah, so that we can overcome this oppression, Yahweh, that we are receiving physically, and this mental oppression that we allow, Yahweh, by walking against these commandments, Yah. Yah, we thank you, Yah, once again for giving us this day, a day of rest and an opportunity to be able to keep this Shabbat, Yah, for many are still in oppression and forced to work on this day, so we thank you, Yahweh. Yah, all these things we humbly come before you. We thank and pray, and we also ask, Yahweh, one supplication that you also continuously grant that spirit of healing to all of our sick and our elderly and those that are suffering afflictions, Yahweh, especially those of the household of faith, Yahweh, that serve you. Yah, all these things we humbly come before you and thank and pray through Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, hallelujah.
Yeah, baby.